You know what? You should do an episode with my husband. He loves this stuff, paranormal activity. And in his childhood home, there was some activity and they lived with whatever this was, ghost or soul or something. What I do for myself is divide everything into chunks and I write down 3 things every night that needs to be get done the next day. And if I have done those 3 things, I give myself credit. I've accomplished something. When it comes to psychology, there is, your favorite color can change throughout your life, and you're attracted to a color based on what phase of life you're, because color is emotional and it's all psychological and physiological.
Not rarity, but well, maybe rarity.
Yeah,
but
like the
I
quality.
Believe, yes.
Quantity.
There it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm bad at words, folks. Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to another special edition to the Rated G podcast. I am your host, the one and only G Dorado. If you are new here, welcome to the show. And for anyone who is returning here, welcome back. And thank you for your continued support. Here on the podcast, I like to sit down and have honest discussions involving all things art and creativity. And of course, I like to discuss things about just today's society and events and, all the stuff that really affects us as humans. But and I frequently will have guests on here that are artists and creators, crafters, you name it. I do my best to bring them on the show to help promote their brand, and while doing so, we have in-depth conversations about our pursuits and why we do it, and just sharing insights and what goes into our craft and our business. So if you enjoy this type of content, please be sure to hit that follow and subscribe button, ring the notification bell, that way you can keep up with the current uploads, and be sure, especially when I have guests on, to check out the show descriptions where I always provide links to their social media, so that way you can follow them outside the podcast and to continue to follow their journey. And don't be shy in the comment section. Leave a comment if you have any questions or anything like that. I'd be super happy to reply to them. So yeah, we have another fun one today. Joining me for the second time is the one and only Mehnaz Khan.
Oh, that was a really nice welcome. Thank you so much. Good to be here again.
Yeah.
Not a fun one, just a colorful one.
Fun, colorful. I think it's all related. And I do want to point out for the audience, in case they caught your first appearance, last time I was quite out there, quite spacey. So this time I'm grounded. So if I'm fortunate enough, I will sound more coherent and I won't look so dumbfounded anytime Mehnaz will bring up something very intellectual into the discussion. But yeah, we have fun here.
Yeah, that's why we needed the second episode.
Well, I think I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I just felt like the topic of course, color psychology. It was just such a brand new topic for me to cover. So I was just like, wow, there's so much going into this. I mean, just even the psychological aspect of it. So I'm like, I imagine we only just scratched the surface, right? But yeah, how's your day been so far?
Oh, it's been hectic.
Yeah.
And I knew we were going to have a long conversation. We're going to be here for a while, so I had to get some food prepared for the kids also, since they're all 3 are home. So that makes it even hectic.
Right. Yeah. School is still out. So.
Yes, school is out. We have all of August and some of September. So
I was just gonna say, right?
Yeah.
Most students go back to school in September still, or like mid.
I think here in the Northeast, that's the latest, mid kind of second week of September.
Right. All right. Well, how have you been since your last visit?
I've been good. There's some amazing things that happened. Amazing features. Zillow reached out and I was quoted in their press release So what Zillow does is every year they do, I think every year they do, I know for the past 2 years they've been doing it. They do a paint color analysis to help buyers sell their home for more. No, sellers sell their home for more, not buyers. Buyers pay more. So they do some really good research. They had around 4,700 people that they researched to find out what people were willing to pay more for. And then they asked me to weigh in on the findings. What were the underlying or the psychological reasons of those findings? So I contributed to that press release. And yeah, I was there in House Beautiful. I was quoted in House Beautiful and Washington Post. That was a really good article about how HGTV is impacting our perception of homes and how it's making people really embarrassed about their homes and turning their homes into sad places. Like, everybody thinks like they should have the same home because that's the norm. My neighbors would have the same home, and that's the kind of, we could talk about that. One of the things that I said there was affiliate marketing is also impacting that everybody has the same home. So with affiliate marketing, the influencer concept, they earn money through affiliate marketing. So when they are sharing a product, they want thousands of people to buy that product. So those products are not very personalized, because if 5 people are only going to buy it, they're not going to make an income. So they want thousands of people to buy their product. So those products are not personalized and they're very generic. And that's how everybody has the same home. So you bring those generic things. So that's impacting. Our homes are not personalized. And when your home is not personalized, it is not supportive, because it's not telling your story, or it's not reminding you of your experiences. Your collections should be about your experiences in design and who you are. What is it telling about you? When that's not happening, that's how you feel like, oh, this is like, it's foreign. It's just a foreign place because it's not my story. So that's the concept of that article.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I, of course, following you, yeah, I mean, you definitely have a lot of exciting things going on. And I feel I should, just in case, we do have any new audience members, that Mehnaz here is a color psychologist specialist and an interior designer. So, I try to put it out there that, if anyone that is, just trying to either find a new home or decorate a new home or decorate their current home, to absolutely follow Mehnaz, and if you have any questions regarding on approaching on color palettes, and just how just any preferences in
The
terms of how they
impact of
can.
those colors.
Yeah, there's
Sure.
there's so many ways you can go about how you want to decorate your home. And then
Yeah.
if like color is like the dilemma there, this is where Mehnaz comes into play and will guide you.
Yeah. Not only is choosing colors really difficult, but what is the impact of those colors and how are they going to support your function and purpose of the space? So it is interior design, but wellness, well-being design.
Yes.
And we live in that world where we're so much more mindful, and we're going towards well-being, and people are very intentional. So be ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. And it's fun because like my wife and I were, we've been house hunting, so it has been interesting seeing the homes that we visit that are still, like the owners are still there, they still have their furniture and whatnot. So it's been interesting seeing how they set up their homes in terms of like, their furniture, and of course, again, going back to like the color aspect of their furniture, and painting their rooms, like, oh, they chose this color, interesting. And also I will say, because we've checked out a couple older houses where I guess they just didn't bother to change the paint in the room. I mean, one in particular was interesting. We checked out a house yesterday, very old house, built in the 30s, which is a bit of a red flag for me. I'll tell you why in a minute. But one of the bathrooms, their tub was just like, it was like a weird I'm bad at like identifying specific tones, but it was like a lightish, like it was an odd green. It was just a weird color choice to have, uh as versus like its surrounding in the bathroom. Like it stood out so much because it was like the only odd green choice odd green choice to use, and it just like really stood out. And I mean, I don't know if you can actually do anything about that, or but it was just
Sure.
like, oh, like, I don't know, I just feel like a new owner would have tried to, you know, get a new tub or whatever. But it's been interesting. It's been an interesting process. And and the reason why I said it's a red flag for me when visiting or looking at houses built in the 30s, because I believe in paranormal activity. So I always believe, and we're in Virginia, so I mean, we're in the South, but you do the math. So I'm always thinking about the history, especially like depending on the structure of the house, the type of house it's, the style, like if it looks a little what's the word I'm looking for? Like if it looks like it may have had slaves in it. So I'm like, I always if they don't tell, and this is a thing I've learned too here, is that they don't have to tell you like the history of the house. I believe, in Jersey and maybe in New York, like they sort of have to tell you like if someone's been murdered or if there's been just a death in general in the property. Whereas here they don't have to tell you that. They don't have to disclose that
Really?
information. Yeah. So anytime I hear, or when we're told like, oh, this wasn't built in the 20s or the 30s, I'm like, all right, so like anything, have there any been reports of like odd activity or anything?
Okay.
Yeah, I believe in like, especially if it's like in a home where there's a lot of unfortunate events or like tragedies. I do believe that that energy stays in there. Uh,
Okay.
Especially when you're when you're fixing up the house, making changes, structural changes. I always do believe that that can disrupt the energy, and that might cause activity, or maybe open a portal. So I'm very much a believer in that.
You know what? You should do an episode with my husband. He loves this stuff, paranormal activity. And in his childhood home, there was some activity, and they lived with whatever this was, ghost or soul or something. They lived in that house, and they've experienced it when they were very little. But he is always into this stuff. That's the kind of shows he likes to watch, and he will go to the graveyard at night in the dark. He would totally do that. And in
Uh,
the hospital that he works also, couple of years, no, not this hospital, he's a physician, so the
hmm.
hospital that he used to work at, there was the 6th floor that was closed off, no more patient beds or anything. And a lot of nurses and guards told him about some stories that they had experienced, and somebody also died there. So he would go there after he was done checking his patients, and that's where he would sit and write his notes. I would freak out. I'm like, what if you bring something home?
That's another thing too, right? It's like,
Something home, but he does that, and I couldn't stop him.
hey, I mean, absolutely. I mean, if he likes this kind of platform and likes to
Oh yeah,
have,
I think he would love to share that. Like he
sure.
enjoys.
I'm actually trying. I'm gonna be planning to set something up for October where I want to bring in um some guests that I know have had experiences like, witnessing something or whatever.
Yeah,
So I mean, feel free to extend my
yeah,
invitation to him. I'd love to
definitely.
hear his
I will, but
stories.
he has a lot of knowledge. So yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, because
yeah.
I'm very much I mean, I'm not saying I'm knowledgeable on like, I, I don't know. I am very much uh entertained by, like, I haven't I watch a bunch of like these sort of compilation videos on
Yeah.
YouTube on all of these happenings. And I
He does too.
Yeah,
He does
so
too. And I'm like, I'm just listening, like, why? Why would you do that?
so
And
maybe
then there's so many times he's not at home at night. So I'm like, literally, I get up and I just leave the room because I'm like, you'll go, and I have to be in the house all by myself with 3 children. I am not listening to this. I mean, forget about watching it. I'm not. And he does that, and he's totally fine with it. I don't
Have
know.
you ever had a client uh have you ever had a client that lived in a home that was active like
Thankfully,
that?
no. No. Thankfully,
Okay.
no stories. Oh my God, yeah.
Would that be the line though? Is that the like if someone was like, "Oh, I'd love to hire you to to help with the interior design, but there are paranormal activities." Would you be like, "I'm gonna have to pass. I'm sorry."
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And that's a great reminder. Now, if somebody comes with a 1920s or 30s home, I would just maybe probably just pass it. I would pass it because they're just the work is so difficult, with electric because of the cement or stone, the walls.
Mhm.
So that's something that I don't want to get involved in anyways. Then you can't have proper electrical and all that stuff. So you want to be specialized in that.
Right. Yeah, because
That's not, and
especially
then you
with
want to be architecturally correct. So that's not really where my interest is in the color and the well-being, but
Mhm.
you have to be architecturally correct when you are working with those homes. So that's something I would pass, but definitely if they tell me there's paranormal activity.
Yeah, I
But
mean
I didn't have to live in my husband's, they left that childhood home. So I didn't have to go there and ever live there because I would have, yeah.
I
I
mean, yeah, I it's always one of my first questions. If I don't hear a date, a year of when the house is built, I have to ask. I'm like, when was this built? And do you know anything about the history of the house? Even though they're not obligated to tell us, but I'm still gonna
yeah.
ask because, but
Yeah.
that's
Some
so
people find it
fun.
very interesting. They want to know the history of the house. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's so odd that they are not obligated to disclose that information. I'm like, shit, it's gonna be it's a potential new home. Like, you
Yeah.
want someone to get the property, right? Like,
Right. Right. They're not going to share that.
but
And my husband wanted us to have a historic home, an really old home. I had to drag him out of that. It was like some of
oh,
they just look scary. But anyways, I didn't have the energy and the time to, work on a home like that. So we're like, we're just gonna do a brand new one right now. We'll see later, maybe.
yeah, and I mean, when it comes to like repairs or replacing things,
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
are super expensive, especially for older houses. So it's just like you
It
said,
just keeps coming up, and so yeah.
you get the inspection done, and yeah. All right, this is kind of a random question, and I only ask because it's Tuesday, but I did see you post sometime, I think it was last week maybe, that you love Mondays, and I'm just curious why that is.
I like that question. So I used to hate Mondays. I used to definitely hate Mondays when I was like, for a very long time. I'm even gonna say like for 15 years ago or even 10 years ago, I used to hate Mondays. And in school, I definitely hated Mondays. My experience in school was not good. So Monday, I would be scared to go to school. And when I was growing up in my tweens and teens, when I would be scared or anxious of something, I would get stomach ache. I would get really bad stomach ache. Yeah. And we never knew that, like, what was that? And until like now, of course, I've researched myself and figured out what it could be. So physically, you start getting, so one thing that, even though I'm talking about color psychology and environmental psychology, one thing that I'm always considering in the back is probably I don't have to share with the client, but all the disease, disease is not organic. Some of the disease originates from your mind, and the anxiety causes physical issues such as like stomach ache or headache, throwing up. And environment also causes that, because environment is impacting the mind at the psychological level, and then it causes physical issues. So you can be in places where so many times it happens, people are in places and they're feeling sick, having a headache or just nauseating and drowsy, that kind of feeling that could be because of the spaces you are in. So going back to Mondays, I used to hate it. I used to be scared and I have to go back to school. And I still am an introvert. So I didn't like people, being around people. And probably I was weird looking also. So people would make fun of me. I had curly hair. I had like really, really curly hair. And when I was growing up, that was not a sign of beauty. Straight, silky hair was beautiful. So a girl with a curly hair was kind of ugly. That's what I picked up. So as soon as I got my hand on, like my mother's hair dryer and iron and all that, I started killing my hair. So I destroyed my hair. So now when I see a little girl with curly hair, I have to go up to her. If I don't know her, whatever it is, I have to tell her her hair is so beautiful and that she never does anything to it. So I destroyed my hair.
So wait, so that interesting. So is that is that a cultural thing, like with the curly hair? Or is that just
definitely, that was a very South Asian thing for sure.
okay?
Yes, definitely curly hair was in the sign of beauty. We had this definition of who is beautiful and who's not. We live in a very different world where everyone telling everyone is beautiful in their own way, thankfully. But yeah, definitely. And a lot of people said that to me, and you could just pick up the vibe, right?
Yeah, that's so interesting. Because like I'm very, I'm Filipino American. I'm very much Americanized, born and raised here. And I actually like learned later in life that like, because I would see other Filipinos, Filipinas, and apparent like if they have braces, right? Like, I guess like in Western society, like if you have braces at a later age, it's I mean, I don't know if that still stands today, but people would get sort of picked on or made fun of if they had braces in their late 20s, let's say. But I learned like in the Philippines that was like a sign of status. Like if
That
you
is
had
right.
braces, that was
Yeah.
like, I got money to fix
Yes.
these.
Glasses. Where if you have glasses, people would comment on that, like, "Oh, a kid is wearing glasses. Oh, that means you're just making him watch too much TV or something like that." So things like that. I think here also some people have told me I didn't grow up my teen years here in the US, but I've heard from other people like. So, anyways, there was this definition of beauty, and I didn't fall into that. So that obviously also made me nervous and did not like people. So for the most part of my life, I just hated Mondays because now I have to go to school or college and face people and blah, blah stuff. So eventually it is when I understood being conscious and mindfulness became a part of my life. And I do definitely give a lot of credit to being a mother. That impacts a lot. I have to change my thinking so I can teach them the right things. So you first work on yourselves, and whatever you teach them is not, nobody's listening, they're watching you and they're going to do what they see you do. So even in like business, there's always a struggling phase. There's so many ups and downs, sometimes being very successful, other times you're struggling. And I always remind myself that I cannot give up because these 3 people are watching me, and if I give up today, they are going to do that in life. So they're just watching and they're learning. And I think I mentioned to you last time when I used to do in Florida, the fairs, the art fairs and all that, I used to take them with me, and they would see the struggle and they would try to sell also, but they used to go with me.
Wow. Well, I want to say I commend you for setting those examples for your children. Like I don't have children, we don't have children, and quite frankly, we don't plan on it. But we have so many friends, of course, that and relatives that have kids, and I don't know. I guess like because of the sort of one of the directions that today's society is going, I've been very adamant on like kind of weird to say, probably arrogant to say, but in a way, I try to set certain examples for my peers so that they can take that, interpret it in their way so that they can set a positive example for their kids growing up. At least for me in particular, my thing is about health and just overall health and fitness. Now, when I say fitness, I don't want people to mistake that I'm saying you got to be like a bodybuilder, but you still want to be functionally active, right? You don't want to be breaking your back from bending over because your body is just so unconditioned. So I've been trying to, because like my friends that have kids, like we're still young, right? So it's like you shouldn't be so achy and in pain and and you shouldn't be, sort of handicapped in that way. And like, I don't know. So I always like try to like push that narrative of like, do, as foreign as it may be for some individuals, because they just never inhabit that sort of lifestyle, like, just like a more healthy, conscious lifestyle. It's like, try to start practicing that so you can demonstrate it, so that when your kids grow up, like, they will hold on to that, and they would know, like, because it all adds up, right? It just
Yeah.
feel better. Your mentality is so much better. It really, you gain a lot of perspective when when you do go through like some hardship. And I just feel like I'm just speaking on like the people I know and the people I see, like they're just so easily what's the word? They kind of, they give in easily. They cater to their kids' feelings and their wants, as opposed to what's needed and what's beneficial in the long run. So I'm always like, and especially with technology, right? Everyone's all
Oh,
about screens
it's
on their
hard.
face. So I'm like trying to, like, I kind of feel arrogant, because I'm like trying to like show my friends who have kids to be like, don't, like, obviously it's okay to like self-indulge on like that type of entertainment, but it's like show your kids like what it's like to also be present too. Like, if they're acting up in public, don't just shove a iPad in their face. Try to like, try to have a sit down with them or something, and just like have a talk with them. Like, try to teach them something about why it's improper to behave this way out in public, and why you can't have your iPad while we're out eating dinner with friends and family. And so, yeah,
It's not
sorry,
easy.
I didn't mean to
It's
go on that
easier said
tangent.
than done, to be very honest. It's not that easy. And
Oh,
I give
I'm
up so many
sure.
times. Yeah. I
I'm
give up so
sure.
many times, but you still try to strive a balance. You can try, but it is definitely so hard now.
Oh
So
yeah,
hard.
absolutely. And that's the thing
And
too. I
even the
think
kids
people,
know, like my 8 year old, she's going to walk in and she knows that I'm in the middle of something. So I cannot distract her. So
right,
she'll point at my phone and like, yeah, okay, take care. You
right.
know, they know the strategies also. But I mean, it's not their fault. Everything is on there. School homework is on there all day. They're
That is
using,
true.
but their mind needs that fast pace. They can't sit down and they're us, right? 10 minutes you're sitting without your phone. You're like, okay, I need to see some messages coming or something is happening. And
Right.
I have to remind myself, I like people tell me, especially because you and I are on Instagram or social media. So people are like, so how do you manage them? Like, you have to be mindful. You have to be
Yes.
mindful. I put down my phone. And you might have noticed I wasn't on the ground for the past 3 4 days. You
Mm,
have to put down your phone, and because there's
yeah.
so much happening. There's email, there's meetings, there's phone calls, there's Instagram and Facebook. But your
Mhm.
kids watch you, and then there are times that sometimes I'm telling them not to do, and then I realize it's in my hand, even though it's
Right.
work. I am using a device,
Right.
so then you have to put it down, and then you have
Yeah.
to spend time with them. You have to engage with them. So we do like card games or some sort of games where we're sitting and uh,
Yeah. And I really want to put it out there. Like, I'm fully aware, like, the difficulties. Like, again,
yes, yeah,
I'm
somebody's
witness.
gonna say that you have no idea.
I don't. I mean, I only have some idea. Like, because I'm an uncle, and I'm
Yeah,
a godfather. So like, I understand, like, when you have kids present, like, yeah, I'm fully aware of the difficulty of it. But just because the way my mind sort of breaks things down, it's like it's super difficult, but it's still possible, because there's so many other examples of people that have had kids for years that managed to build these sort of like foundational things in life.
FaceTime
So
is
it's
even
still
harder.
possible. It's just a matter of like finding the thing that sticks. And I do believe, because like, again, I guess, like, the type of content that I engage with online, like, I see a lot of videos of like young kids like exercising because they're always watching their parents exercise. So I always try to like, I kind of use that as like the format. It's like, like, if your kids see you having a hard time with something, it doesn't even have to be exercise, but when they see you working hard on something,
Yeah,
some of that is going to stick with them.
it is
And they're not going
definitely.
to even realize why until they're like older and be
Yeah,
like, oh, my
oh,
dad was always.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I'm
Whatever
not
it is.
saying it's easy,
No, no.
But
Especially
it's
when
possible.
life is so busy, we're doing so many things. It's so hard to sit down and give them that time. And then you have to socialize also. And if you're not,
Yeah.
I socialize very little, then everybody's like, oh, you never call us, you never come see us, you never hear. And like, I have a group of friends here who are just the food that they make, they go
Oh.
and drop it off at the other friend's house. And I'm like, how do you do that? I cannot even cook every day, even though I cook a lot. I'm like, I just have enough food to feed the family. And if something is left over, I'm like, okay, tomorrow 2 people can eat this. And then I'll make more for the other two. We'll just figure it out. But I'm
Oh,
like,
I
how do you do
resonate
that?
with that.
So there's just so much to juggle. So it is hard. There's no denying, but we don't have an option. We have to keep trying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as long as you're trying, right? I'm not saying like people aren't trying. There are people. I mean, there's it's a spectrum. There are people that are trying, and then there
Yeah, there
are
are
people
people
that
that are
just kind
not
of.
trying. You can tell. You can tell.
That's what I'm saying. And like like my
Apparently, they don't even care what we're talking about. They
well, like
don't.
my niece, she's only, I think she's one now, almost one and a half. But like her parents, like they have a house rule, like when we're there, we have to be very mindful when we have our phones out. Now, of course, it's inevitable you're going to be taking cute pictures and whatnot, but when you're just kind of like sitting there aimlessly scrolling on your phone, that's when they tend to have like an issue with that. It's like if you're gonna interact with the baby, interact with the baby. But when it's like kind of like downtime or hanging out, like try not to have your screens out. Otherwise, the baby's gonna want that phone. So they have like this kind of like strict rule. Like, they never like, when it comes to mealtime, when they're eating at the table, the TV's off, it's not even facing their direction. Like, so they're very adamant about that screen time control.
Yeah.
So
And this is a baby. Today's problem is like middle schoolers, they have cell phones.
well,
They
yeah,
have
that's the
their own
thing.
cell
Yeah.
phones. That is like, that's the end to it. You can never change anything if you give a middle schooler a cell phone. And I have a middle schooler starting 6th grade this year, and he has constantly been asking me. And then he goes to other parties or school friends, and he's like,
They
they
feel
have a
left
cell
out.
phone. I'm like, no, no, you're not getting it. Your brother got it when he was halfway 9th grade. You're not getting it before that. But
Yeah.
that makes it really hard because he's going to see other kids, and then he comes and he's like, why don't I have a cell phone?
Yeah. And I have friends how old is he now? I think he's 6 or 7, but he has a phone already. Like he FaceTimes me because I used to be his
Oh.
manny. So every now and then he wants to, hit up Uncle G on FaceTime, and I'm just
On
like,
his own cell phone?
yeah, and it's just like, wow, like you're
Oh, Lord. Yeah,
like,
I feel
wow.
like cell phones, rather than an advantage, they are a disadvantage.
Yeah, it's like
And we use
it's a
those
coin.
examples.
There's always two sides of a coin, right? So you got your advantages and
Yeah.
disadvantages. So real quick, going back to Mondays, because
Yes.
I used to hate Mondays as
Yeah.
well. And ironically enough, when I was still going to school, like especially in college, I used to always schedule my weeks. Well, how many classes would I do? I would do like I think I would do 5 classes a week, but I would always, because I was I was very much in a party mode type of student, so I would always schedule all of my classes on Tuesday and Wednesday, so then I have the rest of the week
Okay.
to like
Yeah.
hang out and socialize and party. And but I don't know, I don't know if it's like change in philosophy or what, but then I kind of just honed in on just like, yeah, Mondays suck. But I always try to break it down to just gratitude. It's like I could be dead. So, like,
Yeah, it is a mindset shift. So for me, the mindset shift is I look forward to Mondays now because I'm someone who likes to be on schedule and don't like the schedule that's messed up on a Saturday and Sunday. So Monday, I know we're gonna get back on schedule, and everything is gonna happen the way it should happen, and we're gonna be more productive. And then the simplest shift was, it's a new start, it's a new opportunity, a new week starts. So you get this really fine line that it's a new week. It is a new opportunity for me to do new things. I have new goals. And if I failed last week, never mind. New week, new me, new goals, we'll start again.
exactly.
That has really helped me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? I feel like for whatever the reason being, I think just like the average person tends to sort of dwell on the negative aspect of a Monday as
Yeah, that's
opposed to
human
just
nature. We're always, our subconscious mind is trying to protect us and is always showing us the problems. You
yes,
have to force yourself to see the positive. Yeah.
exactly.
And then instead of looking at it like a whole, I see it as chunk size. Dividing everything into smaller chunk size has helped me a lot in every aspect in life. Like, I'm a mother of three. It's crazy schedule. My husband's a physician. We have not seen him in the past 8 days. Okay. We haven't seen him in 8 days right now. So it's all comes down to me. And then I'm trying to run a business and do so many other things. So there's so much I can do. I have so much energy and I want to do things for myself also. But then my one kid has this activity, the other has the other thing. So what I do for myself is divide everything into chunks and I write down 3 things every night that needs to be get done the next day. And if I have done those 3 things, I give myself credit. I've accomplished something. And it could be as simple as just making a good lunch or dinner. So 3, I don't write down the lunch or dinner, work related stuff. Yeah. But sometimes at the end of the night, I'm like, I've been done something, but then I remind myself, yeah, I made fresh food all from scratch. My kids enjoyed it and we served it in a fancy way and they just felt good about it. So breaking everything into bite size goals, work related, and that's how I break the week. Monday is a new week, new concept, new ideas, new goals. I'm not gonna see the whole month together. That has helped a lot with
I,
everything.
yeah, I believe it. And yeah, and that's the thing too, right? Like
Make it a way of living.
we're in a very fast-paced life, so it's very beneficial to try to slow down, and just kind of like, yeah, like you said, try to break it down a little bit so you can, just have a much more productive and fulfilling outcome.
Fulfilling. That's the thing. Everything that I think it's about fulfillment.
Yeah.
Home with everything.
Well,
Some days they're like, I have to drive my kids so much. I hate driving. And I'm just exhausted by that back and forth, back and forth. And like, I'm done with that. So that's also like
yeah. And
that
you're in
drains me a lot.
upstate? Are you in upstate New York?
State, yeah. I'm in the capital region. Thank
Yeah.
God we don't have traffic, but
How would you suppose you'd be able to handle if you were in a city?
that's why I don't live there. But yeah, I don't know. That's why, I mean, we were lucky enough to have this option. We could choose where we want to be because of my husband's profession and me doing my own thing. We were definitely blessed with that. And we
Yeah.
took advantage of that. The largest city we have lived in was Orlando a few years ago. And yeah, everything was at least 30 minutes drive. It was distance. It wasn't like New York City where traffic was the thing. It
Right.
was just distance over there. So that was annoying. So we don't have that problem here. But I still live like in a very central location where I don't have to drive
Yeah.
distances. And yeah, we compromise in being in this location just because I want to be 10 minutes to everything.
Yeah, and that's a hard
Knowing what
part.
you like, what you don't like, people are okay driving. I'm not. So I compromised on other things. I could have been a little further away, like 30 minutes, and bought a much bigger house, paid less in taxes and other things, and have money for probably more vacation or something.
Yeah.
But I chose that this is more important to me rather than being frustrated and being angry with my kids or shouting and, we're getting late and we need to do this, blah, blah, blah stuff.
Mm,
So I think it's again, mindfulness, be knowing what is important to you and focusing on that.
absolutely. Now, going back to color psychology, um, this might be a loaded question, but I was wondering, because everyone is so different when it comes to psychology. So, like, how do you assess a new client when it comes to that? When it comes to, this, learning about their personal attachments with colors, or just like what's like sort of like the step process on that
Yeah.
approach?
Okay, love that question. It's going to be a long answer.
That's
So
fine.
the general perception is that color is subjective. It's completely subjective. And I always go against that it is not completely subjective. So you want to understand it like this. You like fitness and you're health conscious. So there is a food that's your favorite. What's your like favorite food that if you didn't have to worry about calories or anything, you would want to eat it every day?
Oh man. Okay, so I've been having this sort of internal debate because like I mean I have so many favorites, but I'm gonna have to say, and I blame Richmond, Virginia, because it's very well known for this, but cheeseburgers. Like
Okay.
and even when I was a kid, fun fact,
Yeah.
when I was fat, I used to always go to my 7-Eleven. I used to live down the street from 7-Eleven, and they used to have those like cheeseburger big bites, like hot dogs, but it was made out of cheeseburger meat.
Ooh,
And
okay.
I mean, it sounds good on paper, but not healthy at all.
No, yeah. So that's the same way colors are. There is a favorite color, like a favorite food. She loves cheeseburger. Yeah, that's cool. But it doesn't matter at one point if you're trying to live healthy and conscious. If you're someone who doesn't care, like I'll just eat whatever I want to eat and I don't care about the health benefits and the cholesterol and the weight and everything, that's a different story. But you're conscious, you know that it's not good for your health.
Yeah.
That's how colors are. There is this favorite color. Yes, I like it for whatever reason, but colors have properties. And how do colors have properties? Because color is light, and light is measured in wavelengths. The visible spectrum of light, which the human eye can see the colors, is from 400 nanometers to 750 nanometers. And when that wavelength enters the human eye and it's processed in the brain, it creates some sort of chemical reaction. So we know that colors have properties, just like your food has property. Meat has certain properties, green veggies have certain properties, orange veggies and carbs. Not that carbs are always bad, you need some carbs.
Yep.
So they all have properties, and that's how colors have properties. So by understanding, number one, what's the purpose of your space and how you use the space and the function of the space, the things that are going to happen in the space. For instance, office, you want to be more productive compared to a bedroom where you want to unwind and relax. You do not want to be stimulated and be productive. So that's how we can find colors that support those purposes. Okay. Now, another question is, there's so many blues. There are hundreds and thousands of blues, let's say, at least in paint colors or products. How do we know? There's the grayed out blue, there's the cool blue, and there's the warm blue. So how do we know that? So it's not really infinite. There are ways that, Carl Jung started this by doing like understanding personality and dividing colors into 4 main categories. So mostly everybody, if you go through like a Myers-Briggs test, like how you would do with that personality test and figure out what your strengths are, you're usually a combination of 2 different, like there's a primary and there's a secondary. So that's how I do take my clients to a personality questionnaire, or even if I'm not asking a questionnaire, I'm noticing your traits. And most people can be divided into 4 categories, and there's a primary and there's a secondary. And there's a color type, like a cool color, or let's just talk about blues, grayed out blues, clear blues, which are more like pastel or springy colors. Then there's the warm blue and the cool blue. So one of those is going to be a direct match of your personality. So there is a system how you can figure that out, but it's interesting. The personality part is really interesting. So working people and observing people, I've figured out like what category they're going to be in and what that blue would be. So this is why you'll never see me produce like a lead magnet or a freebie talking about paint your bedroom blue, because what shade of blue am I saying? And for me, the grayed out blues don't work, or grayed out any color doesn't work. I would be very depressed in that. So if I tell you blues and you go and use that grayed out blue, and then you're having a disaster, it's the wrong blue for you. So that's where it is a very one-on-one approach to figure out what shade of blue it is. But yeah, it's like kind of not infinite. There are ways to figure it out.
Yeah.
But that's the most important part I want to say. But people need to understand that colors have properties. It's like vitamins in the human body. It's not like somebody on social media said, I am using vitamin D and it's helping me so much, so you should use it too. You wouldn't do that, right? You wouldn't do that. You go to a doctor, they do a blood test on you, they figure out what sort of vitamin your body is lacking, then they give you that, whether it's A, B, C, D, whatever. So that's how we do colors, because you know that all of the vitamins are important for the human body. And they all have properties. They all do different things for our body. That's how all the colors are important. I also say one thing is do not live in one color. That's like living in one state of emotion, which is abnormal. We human beings live in several states of emotion throughout the day. Our state of emotion changes throughout the day. So that's why you want to have various colors surrounding yourself because they impact your emotion.
So funny talking about blues because there was going back to house hunting with my wife. There was one blue house that we were checking out. And personally, because I don't know if I told you the first time we met, but I do like vibrancy. There's something about vibrancy that it just makes me feel like it's like coming alive,
You
right?
have a vibrant personality. Just look at you. Oh,
I like to think so. No, but this house, I wish I can identify the tone of blue because it wasn't like a fluorescent blue, but it was like it was almost like this, but just a little bit toned down, a little bit softer.
You
And
think
I
it's
loved it.
muted a little bit? What is muted with some gray in it? Because you mix colors, you know that.
Yeah, well, like, but it was just funny because I didn't mind the blue, but my wife really wasn't having it. I think it came down to like I liked it because it stood out of like in the rest of the neighborhood, and I think I'm assuming for her it was too much. Like it was like it sticks out way too much in this neighborhood. I was like, I love it, shit. Like I love the spotlight, right? But I just thought that was just a funny coincidence talking
And
about
I'm
blue.
guessing she has a very different personality than yours. I mean, obviously there are some commonalities. I've not met her, but I've seen her in your videos and some pictures, and that's why your color palette is different than hers.
Oh yeah, we're very much yin and yang. I'm the outgoing
Okay.
personality, and she's very behind the scenes, quiet,
What?
very
Yeah.
lovely person.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're very much we balance each other so well that in that
Right.
respect. So, but yeah, it's just I thought that was funny.
Her palette is different. Yeah. Well, let's see who
Yeah,
you buy a
she
house.
well
Who
she
wins?
actually she claims blue is like her favorite color.
But yeah.
Um, I never I can't recall. I don't know if I asked her actually why. And I keep telling her, I'm like, hon, you gotta, check out the podcast with Mehnaz because like,
Yeah, let's talk about that.
psychology. We're looking for a new home. So hey. But yeah, I can't recall if I've actually sat down and like asked her about it. I mean, we talked about why I like sort of like or not why, but how I'm drawn to warm colors. Um, but yeah, it's just interesting to sit down
Yeah.
and think about. So I'm
You
curious
know,
now.
G, this favorite color thing is when it comes to psychology, there is, your favorite color can change throughout your life, and you're attracted to a color based on what phase of life you are, because color is emotional and it's all psychological and physiological. The stage of life you are in, you will find a color attractive. You could be really overwhelmed and depressed. And I think I mentioned that to you once. I had a client, she wanted everything white in her life, everything white. She was wearing only white. She did her nails only white, the French manicure. Her house was, everything was white. And then I've learned that she was going through a divorce and she has 2 teenage kids. So that was like, life was so overwhelming. So you're attracted to that opposite color. So it's always like that teenagers are like, they're rebellious. They want a black bedroom or something crazy. They're going through a very tough stage. Like an 18-year-old is going through a very difficult stage in their life where they still want their parents, but they want to be independent. They want to leave the house. They don't agree with you. They think you're the worst. But so they're confused.
Yeah.
So depending on what stage of life you are, what's happening in your life, you're going to be attracted to a different color.
Yeah.
But you know what? As kids, the first time you go to kindergarten, or we just meet a new kid, we all do that. Oh, what's your favorite color? That's just a conversation. How do we have small talk? Asking them. So it sits in their mind. It's embedded in their mind since that age that I need to have a favorite color. And that's like, then we start associating with it. And there is color association. That's the subjective part of color, is that we do have associations. Like we were talking about that food, that you like that food. There could be an incident in life that happened where that color, you have associated that color. Again, it's emotional. So for instance, one of my cousins, he was buying new furniture, and I asked him, why don't you do this dark green, emerald green sofa? And he just said, no, 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 no. He wouldn't tell me, like, no, no, no. Later on, I was like, no, you have to tell me why. And so he shared that one of his aunts, his father's sister-in-law, in her house, they had there was a living room which was really dark and like a scary place, dingy place, and they had a dark emerald green sofa. And he did not have good memories with that space. His parents ended up with a divorce, and they gave his mother a very hard time. So he has associated that color with that. So that's where the personal, your personal story comes in with color. But that doesn't mean that green has, that shade of green has all negative psychological effects. So that's also when you're having that client meeting, you're trying to find those things.
Yeah, interesting.
And some people are just resistant. They just want to be resistant. They don't want to talk about it, or they're completely going to refuse that idea.
Huh. I'm certainly gonna ask Nicole when she gets home about why she at least feels that blue is her favorite color.
Point it out, yeah. Sometimes people can't point it out. I mean, that's
yeah.
okay. Sometimes
Yeah,
you can't tell, like, what happened, why am I related to it? Like,
yeah.
what sort of connection do I have? Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm curious because I had a very I wouldn't even say a short convo, but I was with my fellow creators here in the neighborhood, and we're at an event. I don't know how it came up, but I brought up color psychology, and I think we're just talking about decorations or something. And I was like, hey, you should check out this podcast. But I had, and one of them, they were kind of like on the fence on, like, they didn't fully subscribe to the color psychology.
Yeah.
Now I didn't dive in. I didn't like pick her brain so much on it. I just kind of like, oh, okay. But like the only thing she really said is that, I guess she kind of took it upon herself to do some research, and I guess she just saw some cases that just either they weren't convincing, or she came across articles that were kind of debunking that, the connection, the color psychology. So I'm just curious, for you, like, have you dealt with any, not arguments, but like maybe pushback, or just like, any, like, have people sort of, again, like, argue?
Yeah, a lot. A lot. Not with clients, because you're not my client if you're not open to the concept of mindfulness or learning something new. So I don't want to work with somebody like that. And I'm not here to change your perspective. But I'm not a fool if I'm coming on a platform and talking about something I'm not going to talk about it without research, or there is a reason behind it. So something that was published in the Zillow article, and I have decided to not talk about this statement. But the Zillow did a blog post about the different colors, psychological impact of different colors. And this blog post was a phone interview and a Zoom interview. And then they took the information and then compiled into a blog post. So there was a lot that I told them and explained to them, and stories, because I know there are people who are going to come and stand against it. And also people are, it's their defensive mechanism. For instance, if I say that your favorite color is not the right color for your bedroom, so they are going to bring up the defensive mechanism and not understand, like, somebody on Facebook a couple of years ago, she did a very dark blue and dark burgundy bedroom. And when I asked her, like, I'm just curious to know, like, why did you choose these bedroom colors? So she said, it's my favorite color. So that's a way of people apply to shut me, right? Just like, shut up. That's a nicer way of saying it. It's my favorite color. And I was following this woman. I was seeing what was going on for years. I was connected with her on Facebook, and she was posting everything about her son and her marriage and her business. And I was seeing the back end stories. I could connect, like, where that is coming from. But they have to tell me to shut up. And that's okay. I'm not going to sit here and try to change if you're not open to it, I'm not going to share the knowledge. And that's okay. I'm not trying to convert anyone.
Right.
So I like a conversation like this because I can explain and go in detail. So I had this long thing with Zillow, and they took some part of it out, and they published one statement that I said that blue does not exist in food. So Facebook, most people like that are on Facebook. So when that article went on Facebook, there was like a long list of people. Oh, what about blueberries? She doesn't know what she's talking about. Blueberries are blue, and there's so many blue food and blah, blah, blah stuff. I forget the scientific name of the pigment that gives blueberries color. It's actually purple. And us artists, when there's a really dark color, which we can't tell if it's black or it's a very dark green or dark burgundy, we mix it with a little white to help that shade come out. So if you make a blueberry shake, that's like adding white to the blueberries, you'll see that it's always purple. Now, don't forget about those colors and dyes that everybody's adding, and all that stuff makes it blue. But there is, so that's one of those things. People come like, oh, the blue. Then somebody even said to me, there's blue fish. And I'm like, yeah, there's blue fish. But remember, that's on the outside. The inside flesh of the blue fish is not blue. Meat is always that like pinky color. So what led to that conversation was I was mentioning that in nature, our subconscious brain is also known as that ancient brain, and it works still the way it worked thousands of years ago. So color is not just about beautifying things. It's not just a visual stimuli. It protects us. It keeps us safe. So in nature, we see food changes its color. And when you're going to the grocery store and you're buying just fruits every day, most of the fruit you buy by looking at the color. You'll see some tomatoes. You're not even going to touch them or squeeze them or to see if you should buy that. First, you look at the color and you know if I want these tomatoes. For instance, I was making curry this morning. And yesterday I went to Sam's Club and bought tomatoes. They had only one type of tomatoes and they were really red. And I knew my curry is going to be sweet because those red tomatoes are juicy and sweet. What I need something for curry is like an orangey tomato. So we don't even have to touch them. We buy with our eyes. And how? By understanding the color. So it makes our life easier. It helps us. And then it protects us by looking at so many. If you leave meat in the refrigerator for 10 days, go back and see it. It's going to turn blue. That's nature's way of telling us that the meat has gone bad. You don't have to cook it. You don't have to taste it. You don't have to touch it. Fast, instant decision. Now just imagine you had to cook that meat and then you will find out that it's gone bad. That would be such a long process, time consuming. And if you had tasted it, and what if you had food poisoning or something? Right. So color protects us. It keeps us safe. It makes our life decisions faster. Life is so much faster because of color. And anybody can imagine that living in a black and white world, colorless world, how would it be? So that's where it came from, that meat turns blue, or any other vegetable, they're going to have that fungi or fungus on it, and it's going to turn blue and then eventually black, and you know that's time to throw it off. So in nature, that's why food is not blue. The blueberries are actually purple. Yes, the name is blueberries, but can we think a little more?
Well, and maybe even blue violet.
And then somebody even came with like blue corn. We eat blue corn tortillas, and like that's the same pigment, people. Yeah. And there was another one. What is that sweetener? Sprinula? Is that how you say it? Not sure.
Oh, I should know this, but I can't. I know what you're talking about. Okay. Putting their coffee.
So that is an algae. It's not a food. So that's different. Okay. Some people have chosen to eat algae, or it's edible. That's different. It's not a food category. So that's the kind of people. I'm not trying to convert them or change any mindset, but that's where I get the most resistance. People get very defensive about their blue food or blue kitchen. And that's like, in terms of color psychology, I do share that blue is not the best color to have in your kitchen. It's just about the kitchen. I'm not saying you can't have blue in your life, or elsewhere in the house. It's just not the best color if you really want to be cooking healthy meals and be more. Cooking is a very physical activity. You want to be supported. Cooking is also a very emotional activity. And people forget that cooking is more emotional, physical and emotional, nothing to do with your mind, intellect.
Right. Is that why, like, they say they made the food with love? Is that related?
Yeah, that's emotional. Yeah. You can make the same recipe 100,000 times. For some people, it turns out always amazing. And for others, some people in your life, the food never turns out good. So I tell my kids, like, the secret ingredient to good food is add some love in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's a very emotional activity. And if you really want to cook good food, there's certain colors that can actually help you support that if you feel like you're not a good cook and it's too much of a chore for you. How can we use color to help support that purpose? So yeah, that's where you get a lot of resistance.
that's so interesting.
But then again, I'm like, I'm not debating with you. I'm not gonna.
It's a waste of energy, right? It's
It's
like,
kind of a fool. I went on to Zillow and I said such a big thing without even researching it or without even knowing what I'm saying. Oh, I'm saying blue. You're wrong about that. Yeah, I'm dumb.
that's so funny. Now, I'm gonna sort of switch gears here for a second, because you commented on one of my short clips regarding AI, and you told me
Oh,
that
I knew
you
we were going to talk about that.
Of
Yeah,
course.
of course.
And
Yeah.
you brought and you mentioned that you started using Chat GPT for
Yeah.
for your writing. So um like what are your thoughts on it? You know,
Yeah. So this was more like I was researching something. And at first I was like, this is just like Google, Google is the same thing. It gives me all these answers because Chat GPT is not giving me exact answers. I was searching something about informational marketing. So let's go into, so that's like the conversation I should have or something like that, because I'm an introvert, right? So, so at first it was like, it's like Google, it's giving me the research, but I have to figure out it says that it's like, you pick the parts or it's not 100%, and then some information it's not going to give you. But then I also learned, and I played a little bit more, and I could give it like a whole situation, that this is my situation, and then the answer. So it makes it a little bit easier than Google, because then I have to go into every link and see what somebody has written or what the article is about. So it's pulling it up and compiling it for you. But that's it. That's how much I have tried it. I was concerned, like, how are students going to do research?
so
Like,
yeah.
that
So
was my concern.
so yeah, that was, and I will say, because I guess with all the readings I was doing on AI and its
Yeah.
involvement, I think my mind automatically went when you said that you're using ChatGPT. My mind kind of went. I didn't even consider the like just the research aspect. I thought you were literally using ChatGPT to write your
I
paper.
wasn't, but that's what I'm thinking. Like,
Yeah.
what if people are doing, and you might know the answer to this, if that's what they're doing, and that's going to make it so hard. If I have to write something and ChatGPT gives the same answers, then there's plagiarism that's coming in the way. Like, how
Yeah.
should it be different? Already,
So
that's a problem.
that is the controversy there, because and
Right?
that's it's a big thing in schools, because I had my
Yeah.
high school teacher on a while ago, and that she was saying how a lot of the English teachers are sort of fed up with it because students are using Chat GPT to write their papers. I mean,
Yeah.
essentially it's like ghostwriting, or it's like kind of
Yeah.
I'm gonna sound old, but it's kind of like using monkey notes for your research papers. Like you're using another source just to use as your source to rate your papers. So that's, and because that's the thing with AI in general. It's using,
Yeah.
what's the word or the phrase, like it does data scanning or data, like it's
Mining.
collecting all the data on the web.
Yeah.
So you're
Yes.
sure enough
Yes.
gonna be grabbing bits and pieces from all these other sources, and I mean, the only thing I would say, like, that the benefit, like I said, is that there's two sides of a coin. So yes, there's all this stuff with AI. People are really using it for their advantage. But on the other hand, and people are like, oh, like it takes away the creativity and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
The effort.
the sort of assuring thing is that there are I don't know, program is probably not the right title, but there are people out there that have these sort of there are ways to red flag something when it's purely done by AI. They have it
But
for
I think it's not
writing.
fair with the students. I feel like this, either this should probably not, completely stop, or the teachers will have to change their way of measuring a student's intellect or grade levels, because it's just so easy. Why?
Well, I think I'm just speculating. Like, I don't know. Like, it could be happening, or it could get to this point. But like I said, they have there are like sort of repercussions. They have these um there is a technology that they're developing so that they can track when something is used
Right.
with AI. So so if like a student,
Yeah, I think they have
maybe,
that. Like, yeah, that's
yeah,
how they
so
do
like if a
papers and
student
all
does
that.
hand
Yeah.
in a paper that was, you know, just completely plagiarized using AI, like
Yes.
the whatever, if it's a software or whatever they use, will be like, oh no, this is unacceptable. This is not written.
What I have heard is that is happening more at like an advanced level, like college, your research paper or something like that. But I don't think that's going to happen at high school level with so many students a teacher has. How many is she going to go and check?
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
There's
I mean,
hundreds and hundreds of students. How, and you're going to do it for some time, and then eventually you're going to give up on it.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, because then it also brings up the question of like, is everyone gonna have that sort of access to use AI, right? He's like, like my argument in when it comes, like when I talk about animation, like I have an animation degree, but I kind of like started falling off of it when I couldn't afford to upgrade my Adobe software, or just I couldn't afford a new version of the Adobe suite. So I ended up either pirating it, or then I just, again, now I'm just a still artist, a visual artist, because I just couldn't keep up with, like, I couldn't afford it. So
Yeah.
I want, and that's if that's not a thing now, it's certainly going to be a concern moving
Right.
forward as
Right.
things
Those.
get more advanced. Like, not everyone's going to have access to it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Same thing with design, the design softwares they have.
Oh yeah.
But I think what I'm concerned about right now is just simple, that everybody has access to, like if you're doing a research paper, homework, you
Mhm.
get that everybody has access to. And that's
Oh,
where
yeah.
it's more.
Well,
The
yeah, it's
the AI design softwares are also all paid, which
mm.
I find interesting. Some people told me to like look into it and do that, and I didn't find it interesting at all. But eventually, I don't know. I've refused to use any software at this point.
Good for you. I mean, I feel the same
How
way.
long can I survive?
I feel the same way. And I came, and there was one article I was reading that because there was an author that was being sued for using AI to create their book cover art. And
Oh,
if I remember
okay.
correctly, because again, of all the data, especially if we're just talking about illustration. So like just imagine all of the type of artwork that AI goes through and collects.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the results ended with that the end that one of their end results actually had a signature of the original artist from one of the pieces. And then I
Yeah.
think that's what actually caused, resulted them getting sued, because they're like, they found, like, I guess a partial signature or something within the AI art. And I thought that was hilarious. So,
Yeah.
I made a clip for it. I was like, hey, artists, like, always sign your work. Like I was always told,
That's
sign
the
your
only way
work.
you can put
Sign
your
your
voice on.
work. Even if you don't like it, sign it. You never know. You never know. So
Somebody like it.
I just thought that was really funny. Um, Now I'm gonna switch gears again, but before I do, is there anything that you particularly wanted to cover that we haven't covered
I'll leave
today?
that up to you.
What's
I'll
that?
leave that up. I will leave that up to you, whatever questions, psychology or design related, come to you. Yeah, because I'm always thinking in one way, so it's good to hear other people's
Okay, well,
questions. You did give me some really hard questions, though.
oh, okay. Well, I'm glad. I do try to, because like I don't
Yeah.
want to ask the same
Same. Yeah.
typical stuff. So I try to have a
As
different.
long as I can answer them.
Yeah. Well, hey, sometimes you develop an answer on the spot.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of
Yeah.
the conversation. But I kind of wanted to uh do a little bit of a dive into your personality because you've made it clear that you are rather an introvert. So I'm just out of curiosity, and of course you're no obligation to answer anything that you don't feel comfortable. Although I'm not gonna ask anything inappropriate, but I'm just
Yeah.
curious, like aside from being an introvert, how let's go with this. Do, how would you describe your sense of humor?
Oh, I don't think I have a sense of humor. I'm a very serious person, a very serious perfectionist. I am a perfectionist. And I like being a perfectionist.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
That
no. That's what makes me different from other people. That's what, and there was a time when probably 10, 12 years ago where everybody was like, don't stop being a perfectionist. And every Instagram post was about that. Stop being a perfectionist and you don't have to be perfectionist. And it doesn't mean that I don't take messy action. I do take messy action, but to my capability, I am a perfectionist. And that might be more, if you compare it to most people, yeah, I would be a perfectionist. So at first I was like, oh my gosh, everybody's saying that I need to stop being a perfectionist and blah, blah, blah. So, and I did, but then I'm like, what makes me different than you? That's what makes me stand out in the crowd. And you have a different strength. So that is my strength, I realized. And then I went back to being perfectionist. But I'll give you an example in life. So when I have a dinner party, which I have very few of them because of this particular reason, I need to have at least 2 desserts, homemade. Yeah, and not just like homemade, fully homemade, not like buying cake from the store or something like that. And they have to be like lush, whatever it could be. Even if it's like 2 weeks ago, I had a dinner party and I made tres leche's cake, which is a lot of work. So that was one of the desserts, and there were other things. So 2 to 3 desserts. And my husband's like, do you really need 2? I'm like, yes, we need at least 2. We can do more, but at least 2. And I don't think I have the energy to do more. But then I go to friends' houses for dinner parties, and nothing against anyone, but that's just me, right? They'll just take out a tub of ice cream.
Right.
They do that. So that's nothing wrong with it. I'm not right, you're not right, nothing like that. But that's what makes me different than you. You might be having more parties more often. I might only invite people twice a year, the same person twice a year in my house, but people remember my dinner parties. They remember them for ever.
I mean, I believe in that, like when there's not rarity, but well, maybe rarity,
Yeah,
but
like
I believe,
equality over
yes.
quantity.
There it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm bad at words, folks.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I do believe that when, every now and then when there is that opportunity, it's like, oh, Mehnaz is coming to the party. Oh shit, she's gonna bring
Oh,
something
I'm sure
good.
people get very intimidated by me.
Really?
Very intimidated. And I've had some other people tell me that also. They feel like, okay, because of an interior designer and talking about home, people feel like I'm just sitting there and judging them.
Okay,
They
yeah,
have
I was
that
gonna
so
ask you.
much. And I'm like, are you serious? Do I have the energy and the capacity to just sit and judge anyone? And this is so funny. Then they expect that of me. Now, I'm South Asian. I'm a Pakistani American. Okay. So most of the Pakistani Americans, you will find them physicians. A lot of them are doctors, and then they're engineers. Okay. So, I'm married to a doctor. So my entire community or the people we meet are all physicians. There's so many physicians that when I come up as an interior designer, it's so exclusive. It's people to be, oh, we have an artist here at our party today. I'm like, oh, that feels good. Which in some communities, like artists, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So in between this pool of physicians, I'm the only designer, and yeah, literally, I'm the only designer. And a lot of people now they're going more into this profession, but when I was growing up, not that many people did. So I become unique, and then they feel like that I'm just coming to their home and I'm judging them. I'm like, you don't feel that way with a physician, with all these doctors? Do they have the energy to judge, oh, you're eating this and you have this disease and you can't walk straight, or you have blood pressure or diabetes? They're not judging you. Why are you expecting that from me? I don't have the mental capacity to sit and judge anyone. If you need my help, you want me to change something for you, that's different. I'm not going to spend my energy judging people. So
Right.
that happens. People get very intimidated by me.
That's funny.
Okay, that makes me unique.
Well,
Like,
again, like going back to humor, right? Because I love, how should I say, like, I like making, like, I love making jokes, right?
you
Like
make jokes,
if
yeah.
if
I might
I
not understand them, but you do. But you can tell me I'm not humorous, right?
well, so there was something I took out of from uh there was a takeaway that I had from our last podcast, because I made just a very dumb, flat, like, kind of, I don't even, it's not even a qualified to be a dad joke, but I did try to bring up like a really dumb, like, ha ha, try to bring up a
Yeah.
joke. Oh, it's I had a stupid question. It was
Okay.
just for fun, but I was like, what do you think what was going through the minds of those that came up with Hooker Green?
I don't know what was going through their minds.
And I don't
Yeah.
know if you caught it or it just
I
went over
can,
your head.
yes, I
And
know. I know. Yeah, you took that. I didn't
right. Oh
realize
yeah,
that you took that
I
part,
made a
but
clip
I
out of
know.
it.
And I expect that. You might understand and I might not
But then
understand.
so when I taking from that, I was like, oh, I was just curious on, because I don't know. I I kind of I gravitate towards people. I mean, if they don't have a sense of humor, that's fine. But if they're able to laugh, that's the thing. It's like you
If they
laugh at stuff. Like there's a certain level. Maybe yours just might be a lower sense of humor than others, but there's nothing wrong with that. So I like to just just learning what makes people tick, what makes people laugh, and whatever. So I was just curious. I kind of use humor as like the gauge to sort of just to get a little more understanding of one's personality. So
yeah.
like, let's say, to put it simply, like, what is a movie that you find funny? Like, what's a movie that's like, oh, I love this movie, it's funny, it makes me laugh, blah blah blah.
That's
Is
a
there
really
one you can think of?
question. I don't watch a lot of movie. Okay. The kids and I watched, I think we did this last summer, the Fuller House show.
Okay.
Yeah, we all really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that one. And we watched, like, we binge watched it that much. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
So it's not that I wouldn't laugh. I would laugh. I
Right.
probably do. And I wouldn't laugh because I didn't understand that joke. So we come from obviously different backgrounds,
Of course.
probably
Yeah.
different age groups and things like that. So
Yes.
I'm not understanding that. But am I cracking a joke? I might crack a joke that somebody might laugh at it, but I'm very serious. I'm somebody who always wants to have a very substantial conversation.
Mm.
If I and you are sitting here and having a conversation, you should pick something and I should pick something, and we should be better humans. Oh, that's way too serious, right? Yeah, we should be better humans with every single conversation we have.
Yeah.
The next step. That's always the goal. I do have a quirky side for
Okay.
sure. Yeah, a quirky side. And I talk about this on my social media. You would see that through my decor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're a fan of, what's that designer? Because
Oh, Jonathan.
yeah. So
Yeah. Quirky,
that's
very quirky stuff. Or unique stuff, or you could say unique or whimsical. How does it show in my personality? This is quirky. We talk and we need to pick up something and be better humans when we leave. But what's the purpose of life if I'm not teaching you or giving you one thing that could make you a better human? Okay.
That's so funny. So I'm curious now. Have you ever watched like a stand-up comedy set?
In person, no, but
Well, not in
on,
person, but like
yeah,
on TV.
TV, yeah.
Is there any particular comedian that's the
I don't
people
think I can name
interest?
someone like English speaking. I probably not. I don't know. Or
No.
just American, yeah. I
Okay.
don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
maybe some Indian because we're bilingual, right? So maybe probably I can name someone.
Okay.
It
Um.
happens rarely.
Now, okay. So what about like?
God, you make me sound so boring.
No, no, no. There's hey. Don't worry about it. Talk to my wife. You'll probably relate with.
Okay, I need to be friends with her. Yeah.
Um, so are there like what are some hobbies or interests, personal interests that don't reflect your sort of designer um aspect of the personality? Like, what are some other unknown fun facts about you?
That's okay. I think I've been blessed enough to have this opportunity to do what I really like, I enjoy doing. Yes, it involves other things like marketing and stuff, which I don't enjoy, like making things.
Mm.
Really into making things, using your hands and making things, whether it could be anything.
Like sculpture or
I have not tried sculptures. I would love to, but like embroidery or painting or
okay.
sewing, or
Yeah.
I'm trying my hands on upholstery. I'll be
Mm.
sharing that soon, but I'm trying my hands on that. Uh,
Okay.
some beginner level upholstery, like literally upholstering a chair. That's
Yeah.
coming. So yeah, I have to always make something, anything. I'm sewing something,
Okay. It's good to
embroidery.
know.
Painting wise, I've tried a lot of things like oil painting or acrylic or resin, glass painting. I used to do fabric painting, silk painting when in my teen years. And then I used to paint like my outfit and then wear it to college. um,
What about
yeah, what I
non-creative?
would like to. What?
What about non-creative hobbies?
Give me examples. What is non-creative? Even my food, I do a lot of cooking, but that's also I might think it
Hmm.
as a chore, but it's very creative.
Well, you know what? To be fair, that is an unfair question to ask, honestly, because I do, on the other hand, believe there is the way a task is handled. There can be an art form to it, depending how sort of disciplined or just how serious one takes the task.
Mm,
Even just like simple, like just cleaning or whatever. So I do
yeah.
believe there is sort
So
of like
I'm
an
an
artistic.
organization freak, also being a perfectionist. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
You
let's
who's
let.
non-creative? My husband is very non-creative.
Well, because I was gonna say, like, I don't know, like, are you into sports? Or are you
I'm
in?
not into sports. I'm not
Okay.
into sports. I'm not into exercising either. Yes.
That's
But that's like I have my own way of the healthy, which is through my environment, keeping myself mentally healthy, which will impact the physical
Mhm.
body. I'm moving all the time. So
Yeah.
I'm not exercising, but I'm moving all
Oh,
the
you're
time.
still active though. Yeah,
Yes, I'm
that's
active,
that's
very
great.
active, because I know, like, my parents have arthritis, and that's eventually going to start showing. And sometimes it does when I wake up in the morning. The first thing, my ankles are really like they
Mm.
are really stiff. So I know that part. I'm very active. Oh my God, I like to do everything. I like to do, like, I'm the what is jack of all trades. I like to do everything by myself rather than giving somebody directions and telling them to do blah 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 blah. I find it like that wastes a lot of energy. I would just do things on my own.
Of course. Yeah.
And waiting for other people, that somebody's gonna come and hang this art for me. I'm gonna hang it myself. It's harder for me to find somebody and make them do something. And then because I'm a perfectionist, I want things a certain way. So
Mhm.
sometimes I have to stop myself because I want my kids to do it so that they can learn to do it. So I have to stop myself, that I have to take a step back. They're
Oh.
not going to do it the way I do it, like perfectly, but
Mhm.
they're going to learn it. And you have to remind myself that.
All right. Well, so all right, last question in terms of like personal interests and stuff. Um, what about music? Do you have a particular taste in music?
No,
Oh man.
very, very really.
No.
I heard
Well, is it
okay, you're gonna find this, like, again, like I said, I'm bilingual, so sometimes I listen to, I
well,
don't like specifically Bollywood music. It could be,
okay.
but it depends. Mostly, oh gosh, it's okay. I don't even know what's the term to explain it. But you'll be surprised to know that last week or 2 weeks ago, I heard my first Taylor Swift song
Oh
because of
my.
my 8-year-old. I
Oh
just knew
my.
Taylor Swift. Yeah, she's a singer, famous, amazing, but never was interested. Oh my God, I'm really boring. Never was interested. She is really interested, and she told her brother, she's 8, and her brother is almost 16. So she told her brother that I really want to go to his Taylor Swift concert. So he
Uh,
was like, yeah, I'll take you, because she was listening to this Juliet song from Taylor Swift.
okay.
It's nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did help her play it on repeat, and then I was doing some chores. So that was okay. So yeah, I'm not into music. I'm not into watching a lot of TV. I'm always constantly trying to learn something.
Yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily reading novels. I'm not a big reader either, but something I'm just trying to learn something. Like when I was a housewife, like a completely housewife, and my kids were little, I would learn to make my own cleaners. So everything is natural, or making baby food, but I'm always learning something.
Of course. No, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just how anyone should really pursue their life. It doesn't like the things that you do, like it doesn't always have to be like this is gonna be my future, like this is gonna be my,
Yes.
career, whatever. It's like
I think
everything
they're
adds.
a huge part of my growth. They're a huge
Exactly. Yeah, I mean every little thing does
cleaner,
have.
homemade cleaner. So we're keeping the chemicals away. But they all are a huge part of my growth. Yeah.
Interesting. Now I'm gonna bring us back to foods. Do you have a high tolerance for spicy foods?
It has gone lower
Okay.
because my kids don't have it, so I keep it a little
Uh,
low now. But I used to. Yeah,
so what
not
would be your number, right? Because there is that number, the
oh,
level.
with like number 4, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
it's not a lot anymore. It used to
no,
be.
I'm trying to think. I had this one dish at at an Indian restaurant, and was it a number 4? I don't know. I picked
Indian
the
restaurants
number.
don't make spicy food. They kill the spice.
What's that?
No, they don't make it properly spicy.
Well, I mean,
It might be for
I,
you.
I was gonna say I'm trying to remember
Okay.
if I got a 4 or not, but I did try. I was just trying to be adventurous, and I tried
Okay.
something that it was. I mean, the number wasn't high. I'll say that it definitely
Okay.
wasn't like a 6 or something. Um, but I remember trying it, and boy, was I sweating bullets, and it was so bad. Like my shirt was getting soaked. Anytime the
Oh,
waiter was
really?
Oh yeah, anytime the waiter was like coming by, I was like, "Yeah, I just got back from the gym. Sorry." Because I was just like
Yeah, so
down.
when you go to an Indian restaurant, they ask you like mild, medium, spicy.
Well, they act like
Yeah, they ask you
you
that. I could do the spicy. I prefer not to, but I could handle it.
yeah.
I
Well, I
prefer
mean, my gauge is that like I know I can handle jalapenos.
not.
And,
Yeah.
and that's I don't want to say that's the max. Like I'm sure I have a tolerance of something a little bit spicy, but not not much spicier than
Okay.
a
Yeah.
jalapeno. But I just always think back to that restaurant because again, like it was like a low number, but I was just like, oh
Do
my
you
god.
like Takis?
Hmm,
You know those chips? They're like a spiral,
I
but
never
they're
had I
yeah,
never
they're
had it. No.
Mexican. They're in a purple bag. You should try them. They're more tangy, but they're also very spicy.
Okay. I do like a
Mouth
little
is
bit of a
watering.
I like it a little tanginess.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like Filipinos aren't known for having spicy food, so like
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I
Really?
don't really have a tolerance.
Oh,
Like I'm sure if I was more Spanish, maybe. Because Filipinos are practically half, we're half Spanish, basically. So
okay.
yeah. I don't know if you know like the history of the Philippines, but they
I
got
not, but I'm sure my boys do
so
very into history.
my people on the motherland have been enslaved by the Spaniards. So like my last name is Spanish. Torado, that's a Spanish last name.
Okay.
But yeah, like yeah, Filipino food dishes aren't they're not known for having spice. So that's why I always claim that I have a very low tolerance of like really hot foods. Um
Okay, weird question. Have you eaten that ostrich egg where they just
oh,
break it?
the balut.
Very Filipino thing. I don't know what it is called,
It's
right?
yeah, so it's a Filipino delicacy. It's called balut, and it's a duck egg. And
Oh,
yep, you crack it, you see the fetus. I mean, I never tried it.
oh, you have not?
I was
Okay.
pretty much scarred for life when the first time I visited the Philippines, I was 10 years old, and my cousin got one off the market, and I just sat there and watched them, and as soon as he cracked it and I saw the face and the beak, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's like it's a baby. So my uncle, my father's brother, he went to Manila
Okay.
for a couple of years. He was studying there. So when he came back, he brought a really big coffee table book which I used to really enjoy looking at. And one of the pictures, and it was, I don't remember much reading about it, but the pictures was the ostrich egg and eating like that. And, like the beak and everything was there. So
Yeah.
this is like a really long time ago. And
I mean, it's certainly a conversation starter whenever someone discovers that I'm Filipino, they always ask. Well, there's two things they always bring up. It's either the bolot or they'll bring up pancet, which is the noodles, because everyone loves pancet. So they're always like, "Oh, I love pancet." It either goes, "Oh, I love pancet," or "Oh, have you tried the duck egg thing?" And I'm like, yes, I love pancet too, and no, I have not eaten the balut because I've seen it. I've seen it front row seats, and it was traumatic. And just watching my cousin like just sucking on it because they're like, oh, so much protein, and blah. I'm just like, oh, oh god, yeah. But no, what? So how long have you lived in the States? Because you said you
yeah,
have,
18 years.
okay. Now, over the years, do you find yourself like, because like I have been having this sort of yearn to like reconnect with my culture. I feel I'm just so far from it. And do you find yourself in anywhere similar position? Like, do you still feel attached to your culture, your roots, or do you feel very
Yeah,
much
I mean,
Americanized
not
now?
very. Yes, mostly I want to say yes. Some of it is, yeah, you're losing it, but because my parents live here, and my parents obviously grew back home and have siblings and a lot of relatives, so we do get to do those gatherings where that keeps us definitely attached. Or my children would know more because of all of that. I
Mm.
don't go back a lot. My story is really funny. The 3 decades. No, I'm in the fourth decade now. I don't remember because I just turned 40. Okay.
Oh, well, you look great. So
Yeah,
don't,
age is
yeah,
just so
exactly.
so 18 years I've been here, which is almost 2 decades. And then the first 2 decades I've been in different parts of the world. So I've grown up in different parts of the world. So
Mm,
it sometimes became really difficult for me to say what is home. I
mm,
want to say this is home because this is where I've lived the most.
right.
But it's interesting. So because I have a lot of family, and then the previous generation in my family that keep it maintained, and we have these big family gatherings, we also see a lot of people locally in the community, so we get to maintain that. So some of it, yes, not all of it, for sure, not
Mm,
all of it.
right. Yeah, I've only visited the Philippines 3 times. Um,
That's like my kids, they've only visited
it's such a
twice.
long travel though. That's the thing. And it
It
has
is.
nothing to do with the culture shock or anything. It's just, god damn,
Yeah,
it's such
it
a
is. I
long
feel
flight.
that way, but there are people I know that they go like every year, even twice a
Mhm.
year.
Oh yeah, my parents were that way. I mean, they had dual citizenship, so every
Right.
summer they would go to the Philippines for a month. Because like all my I would say like 98% of my relatives are all over there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, but people always ask me, would you would you like to go back? I'm like, I'm good, man. I'll
I would like to go back for the food. The food scene
I
is
mean,
amazing.
yes, if I really want like true, authentic
Yeah. No, the food.
Filipino food, yeah. I mean, I miss my mom's cooking, and there's a Filipino restaurant here, that I go to every now and then, and I'm very appreciative of their presence, but there's something that's like, I mean, again, I love my mom's food, so there's like when I eat the dishes that they make that my mom used to make, there's like always something. It's probably like an ingredient that's like off, and I'm like, you just haven't. And you
Yeah.
know what it is too, like
Yeah.
because people are being more veggie friendly, right? So, and I'll
Okay.
tell you, like Filipinos, nah, like we want that meat, we want that
Yeah.
the grease and whatnot. So anytime like
Makes the food
someone makes
good. Yeah.
vegetarian pancet, it's like it's good, but it's mm-mm.
My husband is like that. My husband is like that. He needs the meat.
So we are getting to the point where towards the end of every episode, I like to give my guests an opportunity to share any words of inspiration or encouragement for the audience. It doesn't have to be particularly towards like their passion pursuits. It can just be like anything about life, something that can sort of uplift the audience, because it's a crazy world. So do you have anything in mind that you'd like to share with the audience? I mean, it could be related to your work, or it can just be
Yeah.
something related to life.
You actually give me a lot of opportunity to talk about myself. I don't get to talk about myself. And I think I've shared a lot of substantial thing in between that. But I'll share something that's related to my work, because my work, I feel, is related to life. I don't feel it that way. It is related to life.
Okay.
And it is basically for everyone, because we all live in a house. We have a house, and our house should support us in some way. And you should be fulfilled in that house. So my work is related to every day. So I would say just live a colorful life. Don't be afraid of color. It's just color, and it's good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wear
Especially
color, surround yourself with color. And it's one of those things, amazingly, like, when you bought your first $50 shoe, it was like big deal, $50, but then you get comfortable, and then you buy the $75, then you buy $100, and then you start buying $200 pairs. That's how you get slowly comfortable with color. And you use a little color in your home, then you feel like, oh, I'm ready for more, and then you'll want more and more and more. That's how it is.
There you go.
Give it a chance. I mean, it's there in nature. Whatever you are a believer of God or Mother Nature, you think it's just because there's a deeper meaning.
Absolutely. You hear that, goths? Get some color in your life. No, I'm kidding.
Whatever that color is, yeah.
Well, beautifully said. And lastly, is there anything you'd like to plug, for your business or anything? You can share your social media if you want.
Yeah, sure. My social media is Color Conscious Living. And I'll plug something, because this is helpful for everyone. Everyone paints their house. Don't ask your friend what color they're painting. Don't follow what you saw on Pinterest, because there's so many factors that go into choosing the color for your home. So I do have a guide on my website. It's called the 5 questions to ask yourself before choosing a paint color. Try that out. And if you have any questions, G and I would like to do something. If you have a house and you're stuck with a scenario, you can't figure out how to decorate it or what colors to choose it, we'll do a whole episode for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, send those in the DM. I love those. Love just solving. It's like problem solving. That's what basically it is. And I love problem solving. Super satisfying.
Lovely. And I agree with you on that. So there you have it, folks. I hope you found this episode as enjoyable as the conversations have been. I hope you found it informative. And that being said, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay driven. And we will catch you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in, folks. And thank you, Mehnaz, for joining me once again.
Thank you so much for having me.